Good morning, everybody. It is April 29th. I think tomorrow's the last day of April. I don't know if you know, but we have like I think we have 6 months that are 12. Oh, we have 6 months that are 31 days, 5 months that are 30 days, and 1 month that's 28 days. Though and I don't know if this is true. I didn't sit down and do the math, but I believe somebody said I saw some video that said we could have 13 28-day months. So no, yeah, so that would mean the first was always like on the same day of the week, and that would be really nice. And who knows why we do this weird stuff, but we have 12. And then I had learned that there's a trick where you can say like January is this knuckle, so that's 31 days, and February is in this little crease, so that's 28 days. And then March is this knuckle again, so that is 31 days. And then April is in this crease, so it's 30 days. And then May's this knuckle, so it's 31 days. So you can kind of match up with your knuckles, the days of, like, whether it's a short month or a long month. And then there's one little exception, which is February, which is not 30 but 28 days. So anyways, this is a 30-day month. So tomorrow's the last day of the month. So for many people, it's the last day of the pay period. It's also a very good time if you want to do, this would be a good time to do fantasy football. And I would strongly suggest doing fantasy football, even if you don't like football. And it's because if you've ever wondered how unreliable AI is, anybody who does fantasy football knows, because it is wrong. I mean, it is wrong all the time, dramatically and crazily wrong, about the results for fantasy football. And most technical people I know that talk about fantasy football will say, "Oh, AI is the perfect thing," the rules, blah blah blah. Nah, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I've seen times where, like, literally 10 minutes before the end of the games, it'll think that one person's gonna has an 80% chance of beating another person and loses. I think that a coin flip does better than fantasy football. For a little while there, they would have, like, you could have a team that was a coin flip. Like they would pick their players. The AI would pick its players, but then after that, it would coin flip which players it would play, and the coin flip team always did better than the actual AI selection team. So, because there's different levels, right? For some reason, the AI does pretty good at selecting a team. So it'll look at the players and it does pretty good. I've seen a lot of people, like, we see it. It's a quite regular thing where you get like 12 people in a league, and two of them just let the AI do all their picking, and then they usually start off fairly strong. But by the third game, so 3 weeks in, their team is just doing really really bad. But then, because there's just so many factors that go into it that, and the AI just doesn't, like, the AI never seems to get that. Maybe a team played another team the week before that's a very physical team, or maybe the team played a team that had a week off, or maybe the team just traveled back from overseas. It doesn't take any of that sort of thing into account. And then there's the more you do, the more it takes into account. So yeah. Anyways, so I got a peanut for Rhett. So let's give that to her. She's been pretty good without it. I think she's pretty good until I give her the nut. And then she goes and she gets her nut and she messes with it. And then right after that, she starts to misbehave. So I think this resizing feature that I finished is the first feature where it's a UI thing, a UI concept, a UI feature, I guess, that is intended to be in the system to the end, right? So like last year, I built another ThreeJS thing, and finally got to the point where it just sort of like was like, oh man, I spend more time trying to, like, the framework that I had kind of designed was causing me to do a lot more work than it was benefiting me. So it was like, okay, let's start from scratch again. And there was a couple new concepts, and a couple of things I kind of built in from the beginning. The top of which was probably one of the most useful things is like, so if we look in three, we see we have it broken up into these different things. And I just constantly, even this morning when I was kind of thinking about what I was going to say in this video, I was like, oh, the scene is the top thing, but the scene is not, right? So our renderer is the very top thing. And a renderer has two pieces to it. And it has a camera and a scene. So we didn't have, in the other system, basically I had kind of a loose affiliation of different types and stuff. I didn't have sort of a top level type that then had subtypes that were in it, and then I guess what we would like an ST renderer, that's our very top. That isn't actually our top type, but that is our top type that has like a ThreeJS doppelganger. And see, it has a scene and a camera, but it also has a visualization. And visualization is actually our top thing. So a visualization is actually the DOM element, and then information about the DOM element, which includes like its position and things like that. So we didn't have that concept, and since we didn't have that concept, it basically made the concept of importing or exporting impossible, or very, very, very good. It was going to be extraordinarily difficult to implement that, and it was just going to be buggy as heck. Now we can theoretically, I don't know for sure, that is definitely the next. So so resizing was this feature. The next feature is going to be adding a way to add and delete these individual visualizations. And then the next feature after that is import export. And the way I'm going to do import export is there's going to be a text field that has the JSON in it. You can copy it out, work on it on some Visual Studio or something, Visual Studio Code or something, and tweak it and then paste it back in, and then it updates on the screen. That concept was almost going to be almost impossible because there was no top level thing. And then but anyways, yes, so that is going to come out next. There was no way that I could continue down this path. The farther I get down this path, the more difficult it's going to be to implement something like an import export. And that is like, so not having an import export had a problem, caused a severe problem, and that's it. Is I would create things that were so effing cool, like these eclipses and texts and stuff like that. These really, really cool visualizations, and then as soon as I closed it, it was gone. There was no way to persist them. With import export, I could just copy that into a file. The next time I come in, I'm like, oh, okay, I want to work on XYZ. Just paste it back in, and I'm back at it. That was super, super important. I don't think I'm going to allow import export beyond the visualization though. So it kind of seems like maybe visualization shouldn't even be something that you import and export. Maybe it should start at the renderer. So there's that. And so, but now, since I have created a feature, it's a very simple feature. I mean, it's not that didn't invent anything that impressive, but it is a feature that easily could be lost and could be, and it would, like I could write some other code and I'm just so fixated on that other code that I do something that breaks this resize behavior and never even know, and then it could be broken for months on end before I notice, oh shit, resizing doesn't work anymore. So how do I avoid that? Well, the best way to avoid that, I think, is end-to-end testing. And I noticed that there's one that when I was looking just sort of searching the news and stuff this morning, was advertised to me called, it was called Playwright, which looks like it would be pretty cool, but I've sort of made the commitment to go down the Cypress path. So I think, I don't know. I know that there's another one that a lot of, I can't remember what it's called, but a lot of QA people push because it's like you don't have to do code. It sort of records everything that you do. And then, but I really want it to be a little bit more sort of at the ground level. I want it to be able to like check these DOM elements to see where they are. And so I think Cypress is the best one. Plus, I know JavaScript really well. So, and Cypress is JavaScript, so I would rather do that. So now let's see. It's been a little. Yeah, well, we did it yesterday, but we aren't. It's not really part of the thing. But I think it's npm run Cypress open. Now, what I would love to have done is have like the whole thing sort of pop up and just run through things. And I guess I could. I just won't be able to do it effectively. The problem is it takes over the screen and the whole screen, so that's off my recording and all that. But maybe it would make more sense if I have that on if I don't have my external monitor on when I make a recording of it, and just have this OBS tool record my actual desktop. But that's kind of tricky. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. The problem is that OBS kind of really needs to be on a different screen too. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll have OBS record my whole big monitor up there and let that work. But I think that the way it works is, since my top monitor is really, really wide, it'll just be like very narrow, the piece that you care about. So I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that, but let's run it. npm Cypress open. And I think I have 2 suites built. And I think I want this to be a 3rd suite. Because I think the first suite right now just sort of opens and checks to see if one of these, but I think if one of these little visualizations exist. But I think what I want it to do is, check. It'll check to see if the little tool that allows the user to add and delete these things exists. And then the second one will just add and delete these, and then the third one will do resizing. I think that's my mindset. I have very, very little experience with this kind of thing though. So you see, this is the problem, is it takes the whole screen up when it goes, when it finally decides to run. And which, yeah, I don't know exactly what's going to be the best way to do that. And I guess that's why it's good to get started on this kind of thing. Obviously, the first videos, Cypress videos, are not going to be great. But yeah, so I have this home and I have this viz. And I want to create a new spec. So I guess this button is what we want to do. And this is going to be called resize. I guess I want to do this one because I feel like that one was just like over the top complicated. Resize. And then I guess we want to run the spec. And it's going to go to Cypress. And went to Cypress. For some reason, it has this HTTPS, and it passed. So now I want to edit my spec. I don't know where we do that. I think we... Oh, okay, so the naming is important. So I wonder if I can rename this one. Okay, so that ran it. I think I might have to rename it in Visual Studio Code. So this is where we have new stuff. Looks like in here. Now let's see, is the naming in here? No, so it looks like it takes the name from the file name. So I want to name this one 001. Because I think I'll have over 100 specs. Dash. And then, and I don't even know if this is going to be a good idea or not. Doesn't like it. Rename. 002. Oops. And this is, I'm only doing this because I want them to lay out in the order that I want them. Name 003. And I've just kind of dealt with this sort of thing 1,000 times. So it's showing this red thing. I think, if I remember correctly, whatever I do to fix this in for Cypress breaks the unit tests. Then I'll end up with red things in unit tests where the IDE can't help me, and then yeah, I don't think there's a good, like, anything you do to load it up so that it knows how to read Cypress also ends up breaking things. So now it does not like it because it was running. So let's see if just killing this and restarting it kind of fixes that issue. And this is sort of the joys of learning. Okay, so yeah, it's good, and it's in the order I was hoping for. Now, let's go look in here. I know I don't want it to go to Cypress. It looks like in order to go to the actual website, so we're just going to copy this. So this checks just to see if any canvas exists. I won't be checking for canvases, I don't think. I think I'll be checking for basically anything that I expect to be on the screen without the user's interaction, which I don't expect any canvases to be on the screen when we're done. So let's go ahead and get this to be like that. And save it. And then I don't know if this will just like auto rerun itself every time. Okay, so, and I hate these bars and these bars. I don't really, well, that one makes sense, but this one, I don't understand why I get that one. I don't like it. All right, so now I don't know crap about Cypress. So let's go to ChatGPT. Trying to find a browser that, yeah, this is my browser. I guess I want to minimize that one. There we go. ChatGPT. And yeah, begrudgingly, okay, so I will say that ChatGPT is like, if in the hands of someone who really knows what they're doing, is probably an incredible tool. in the hands of someone who doesn't know anything, that doesn't have any idea, it's probably worse than useless. And in the hands of somebody who's just starting to get an understanding, it may be straight up like playing with fire, you know. Just, I've only been using ChatGPT for about a year now, so, I don't, and it's changed a lot since I first started using it. Like when I first started using it, it didn't have access to the internet, so it only had, and it hadn't had access for like 2 years, so it only had like old versions of Angular and stuff like that. But, so I have a Cypress script. And I would like it to resize the window. Here is what it looks like now. Again, I would never, ever do this with production code from a place where I work. It's so interesting. Okay, so then, and then I don't know, like, okay, so I believe the first one's the width, so let's make it 512. Now let's go back. So it seems like it did it because now it's 5.2. Oh, that's neat. Let's see, how can I run it? So it ran it in just under a second. Okay, so I do not want to do that. Here. Okay, so now I have okay, so keep in mind to automatically run assertions or rechecks them. Okay, but to view the first for the second width. So this is more for the video than for the actual test. And you got to be really careful with these pauses because they could end up taking your may end up making your things, your tests go on for hours if you keep adding them, so this would be just initially for the video and then all that. Okay, so wrong one. And I don't know what we want to do here. I guess we want to click this button, and then there's probably a better way to do this. Okay, so one thing that's kind of weird about the code is it's not quite done drawing things up because I have delays that won't be there in the future in the actual code that was just there to check things. So let's go back to the app and get rid of those delays. I'm not going to do anything too dramatic, just like make them all zeros. See, so this should be very fast. I'm actually kind of curious what that'll even do. Yeah, see, it all pretty much happens all at once. Okay, so now let's see our test. I gotta believe there's a way to right click and rerun or something like that. And click on that. So as you see, we did that. So now I think what we want to do is test that the DOM, that there's, I guess, just, this isn't going to be a good long-term test, but for now we want to test that there is 6, 8, 10, 12, I think it's 16 elements. Okay, so let's go and see if ChatGPT with us. Okay, so the canvas, I mean on the view part, have 16, what are these things? This is really fun. Let's go back to here. App is DOM elements. And actually, I guess before I do that, let's go back to full size again. And maybe wait 2 seconds between changes. Because you can't really tell, you know, what we're up to here. Oh, so it did run behind the scenes when we changed it. But unfortunately, unlike what is it? Oh, that's pretty cool that we have all these versions of Chrome. Oh, right. I guess they're not versions of Chrome. They're other versions. Oh, so did that rerun it? No. So as you can see, it did, you know, you can't really tell that maybe we want to, maybe we want to make it a little shorter. Like, what's between 512 and 1024? 712, 718? Eight, and then another one. Back to 1024. Oh, that's cool. So now we have it. So that's cool. So now I have Okay, so now what I want to do is update this to where it checks to see if all 16 elements are there, right? So that's 5, 10, 12. See, this isn't the best width though. I think the best width would be when there's like 4 of them. So let's go ahead and play with that a little bit. So let's make this 800 and 810, because I think they're 200 wide each. So actually, let's go with 800. This is actually great, actually, because I'm curious what happens when it gets to 800. So that is interesting how for some of those we didn't have that. So 800, they all fit perfectly in there. So that's pretty nice. And it doesn't care about, and I guess that's why. So I wonder if I make it 820. Because the width, that's the problem, is that these are 800 wide, so it is slightly off. If we actually had a border around those, so let's make it 8. I believe those things are 15 wide. These borders. Okay, so let's try 830. Oh wait, no, we're not done yet. Oh, so yeah, with 830 we end up without having the bars on the bottom. So, I mean, we're already, I think, benefiting knowledge-wise from this, from Cypress. Cypress is already being awesome, and I do think that is awesome. Like the way, the actual experience of it, and it's really not doing much yet. It will. I really do think we're going to get to where this thing is just like drawing really cool meshes and stuff like that for us. So I guess if we made it a little taller, we probably wouldn't have the bars on the side. So let's make this 800. And this is super enjoyable. And I think it's got ret stimulated, which is cool. Oh, that is awesome, guys. Oh, that's a good feeling. That's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling. That is so freaking cool. All right, so now I want to check to see if I have 16 elements on the screen. Really what I want to do is be able to check like that the second element, that the fifth element is down here. And I don't know exactly how to check that, but I'm confident that it can be done. Okay, so I want to check. Okay, so I think it was called Viz App. So I go here. Okay, so on the viewport, I have 16 Viz App elements. How can I check to see if 16 Viz App elements exist? Nice. So I don't think they will exist at this point in time, because it takes a minute for them to show up, but we'll see. What I like is when this is back behind it when we hit save. Yeah, see. I don't think they existed yet at that point. None of them existed, it looks like. But I do think after the wait of 2 seconds they exist. It's kind of weird though. Oh, the canvas exists, but the elements. Or it could be a naming issue. Okay, inspect. Oh man, okay, so that is not. See, can I inspect at this? So it won't let me inspect it. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, they're called class of viz. Oh, app viz, not viz app. Hi, cray cray. They always start with app. And now let's go back to the before the wait. See, like if you make a bad choice, right, which I did there, a bad assumption, you should always check. When you make a change and your assumption isn't fixed, you should go back and change it. Okay. So, let's see. So the fifth one, right? The test would be that the fifth one oh Lord, inspect. The fifth viz app should have a top, should be sitting at a top of 200, right? Okay, so when it is all done, the fifth element should have a top style of 500 of 200. Now this is a perfect example, and I'm kind of talking too fast probably, but this is a perfect example of something that, like, I know I could grind through this, like searching through documentation and things like that, but it would take me hours to do. And now this thing, it's like trying to figure it out. It took it minutes, but and it, there's no telling if it's actually right, but that is a lot faster. I mean, it's doing exactly what I would do. It's going looking through docs, looking through different searches and all that. It did take it a couple of seconds. So, basically that shows that, or you might want to wait until it's applied. Should. I don't really understand the difference between this one here and then this should, and then EL top 400. So apparently that will, by in some way, cause it to wait a little bit before. Should. Oh, so I guess, yeah, I don't know. So all of this sort of stuff is sort of going over my head at the moment, right? And like, I could spend a bunch of time trying to figure out what it means, but there'll be other times where I think it'll be a lot easier. So basically, and then it's appviz. And then let's get it to where it's behind it. And then hit save. I'll click over here. Okay, so now we should break it. I think that's one of the most important things, especially when you're doing like kind of doing new testing that you're not super familiar with, is actually break it before. So if we get rid of our set events, it shouldn't work anymore. I'm curious if this will. So it didn't rerun it. I don't. Oh yeah, there it did. Oh no, I don't think it reran it. I guess we click here. So it reruns when you change the test itself, but it doesn't rerun when you change the code. Yeah, see how it didn't But the problem is it was initially right. Maybe it wasn't. Oh, yeah, it's wrong because the fourth one is not, because the initial size. So that actually worked out really good. The fact that at the end I'm not the same. So initially the fifth one gets placed correctly because, I mean, gets placed, based on the size of the width. But then as it's changing, it's no longer updating. And then the last one isn't the same. So the fourth one ends up here and it's broken. Wow. So that went so much faster, right? Like I feel like this is done test, all done, and I was kind of hoping to be done like on Friday. So yeah, so it didn't rerun. It doesn't rerun when you change the code. I forgot. I was hoping to be done on Friday, so now it's not. Now I wonder what happens if I lower. Like, can I think it would look better if the actual test would be more enjoyable and look better. If these were faster. Now that we're doing more stuff, I think it is a little long. It might be not be long for the video though. Like maybe that is a good amount of time. Oh, is this button? Oh, run all tests. Okay, so that's all, not all specs. I don't know. Oh, I guess they're talking about all these things. So I can hit this. Now I would be very curious what that white line is. Now I never see that in actual, when we actually do that, but when we're actually using it, but we do see it here. All right, so now let's change the code again. Oh, let's break it again. is the right one, right? I really like now when I come back and see this fresh, I like that platform service set events. I think that is nice. Okay, let this thing compile. I don't know why it doesn't get the new code when I do that. And it breaks. You go back, fix it again. And I could totally see somebody just like they're trying to do some sort of testing, so they disable that behavior because they need to do something, and then they go, and then they forget to re-enable it before they check it in, and then this end-to-end test would fix that, would catch that and be like, hey, dude, the end-to-end test, and I believe these end-to-end tests can be. So one place I was trying to think of it like, okay, so I've worked at two places where we had end-to-end testing. One of them, it was a nightmare because like the end-to-end tests literally took like more than a day to run, and they lied. It would kind of run until it crashed, and then it would say that it ran for like 2 hours when it would run like for 8 hours, crash, and then people would say, okay, it worked. I ran the end-to-end test, and then they would commit their code. Um, and so that one was a nightmare because it was constantly broken because they didn't have anything in the CI/CD to like force it to pass. Then I worked at another place that had CI/CD set up, and they had end-to-end tests, and it would run, but it could not run with the browser. It had to run headless. It failed if you actually try to run it with the head. So you had to get this end test. And the thing is like the people who were maintaining it was like two people who lived in the Dominican Republic, and they were always very like they wouldn't like you'd say, hey, this end-to-end test failed, and they'd go, okay. They would give you some sort of generic response, and then like an hour later you might be like, hey, whatever happened with that, and they'd be like, oh yeah, that's fixed. So it was just kind of like, what the f, like I'm trying to get this thing through. And so they were doing stuff on there and tweaking the code, disabling things, enabling things, no telling what they were doing to get the end-to-end test to pass. But you couldn't run the end-to-end test yourself because it wouldn't run in a browser because it would fail if you ever ran it in the browser. So that ended up not really being useful. But anyways, this is awesome blossom. Um, I don't know what to do next because like really the next natural thing is to, well, I guess I can commit and push this. There's no reason not to commit and push this. And then just run this on Saturday. Like I probably want to make the video on Saturday, not today, or not during the week, not one of these morning before works. My LinkedIn video, but and then yeah. So I guess the next step is it is 8:38, so that yeah, it's probably time to sort of step off. But yeah, so tomorrow I guess I'll just commit everything and push it, and then we could start the new feature, which is to be able, instead of having these by default on already, to have a icon that lets the user add, click and add these things. And I guess they'll just have some kind of default animation. So right now all these guys have their own little different sets of animation. I just don't like, I wanted the animation structure to exist ahead of time because I felt like it would be very difficult to sort of retrofit that or shoehorn that back in. I wanted it to be part of the foundation, but I don't have any ability to there's nothing in here to be able to add animations. And that will probably come after the import export, because probably adding those in will be something that I get working with after that. So like you'll be able to grab one of these that doesn't have any animation in it, go in there, manually add animation, whatever animations you want, and then um, paste it back in, and then it will redraw. And hopefully we'll have be able to change the size of it. That should be pretty simple. The width, height, or whatever, the Z, I mean, where, the position of it, and probably, there's probably no reason why it can't do two. So I have two meshes on here at one time. Um, so get that kind of thing working, and then probably after that will be like a form. So instead of it being, so you could paste it in or whatever in a text box, but then you could also go to another view, which is the form view. And in the form view, um, you can modify the you'll be able to, like, instead of having to use JSON or whatever in Visual Studio Code, you could just select things, select drop downs and enter widths and heights, and push buttons to add new elements and stuff like that. And then when I get that working, and be able to add animations and stuff, and then once that's working, then I would love to put it into a grid, um, probably like an AG grid kind of thing, something that comes with like a export to CSV sort of thing, and import from CSV. And then that would be cool to get that working, so that you can export into like Excel, tweak it all you want, and then pull it back in, um, and then at that point it would probably be time to just start building out validations from top to bottom. um, so there's that. I will say that I think end-to-end testing thus far seems to be a lot easier than unit testing, um, and a lot more pleasant. I wonder with this, yeah, I don't, yeah, it looks like I was hoping that you could just like change it. Like this was a drop down, you could just modify that. Um, but this is awesome blossom. I don't know what I just did over here. Really, that white line that shows up there is annoying. I don't know what that is. Um, so you kind of see the little lines now too. And yeah, who knows what that is? It may be something. Yeah, who knows? But I'll definitely be thinking about that all the time now. So, anyways, that's that. Let me look at it down here. I want to try that one more time. Yeah, that is nice. And I believe I'm 99% sure like it can record all these as videos, so like it could run these like offline and some other system, um, like every night at midnight it could run them all and record the results. Um, it is fast, right? Like it's like I think 500 milliseconds is pretty good. I wonder if let's try 200. I think I should make it a variable. I wonder if I hit this back button if it'll take me. I wonder if I could just say like const time gap time wait time. And if this can just be wait time. Yeah, it looks like it's happy with that. looks good. I wonder in the code if I can. Now can I hit back and go back to? Can I just make that 16 and just get rid of these, comment these two out? To me, this is kind of the sign of a really nice tool, is when you can, I don't know if it's picking up the new code. I think it picks up the new code. So I was kind of hoping that when I did it all at once like that, it would. So it isn't as bad, right? Like it only, that very first one is the only one that gets that weird little white line. And so I wonder, so I think that's probably too fast for the video. And I'm curious if, let's see, now I think I can hit this and go back. So let's say we made this 1. And then now let's see if we make it 1,000. And let's say if we make it 3,000. So it's basically like a 15-second thing. Now, did it wait? It felt like it didn't wait that for the first one. But maybe it did. Maybe it's just like, it takes it a little time to, after that first one, to. See, that's probably like about the time that we're going to want for the video. But then once the video is over, so like, and then maybe early on, but then see, after some time, maybe we only want it to wait a 0. I don't know if 0 is legal. Yeah, it just runs the whole test and you don't even care what the what it was. Let's see, did it add pictures or anything in our? Yeah, so in this downloads, no screenshots. No. I know there's like certain commands and stuff that will end up adding stuff into screenshots. I think downloads is probably where I would put CSV files and JSON files and things like that I might use when I want to test the import export. But anyways, I guess that'll do it. It is, this video is about an hour long. I have 12 minutes before work. And what do we say? Happy coding, everybody. Bye.